few habits that can damage your brain. And when your brain is damaged, the physical part of your life is at risk. The spiritual, as we know, controls the physical part of our life. But when the physical part of our life is damaged, we will be down spiritually, because the physical works together with the spiritual. Now I'm going to lead out to you things that can damage your brain, and it will affect the physical part of your life. And when the physical part is affected, the spiritual life may be weak. Number 1, poor sleeping lifestyle. Poor sleeping lifestyle. In the morning, we don't have time. Likewise, in the afternoon, we don't have time. You need to have time in the night, at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep, 7 to 8 hours of rest, to avoid bringing problems to your brain, and it will affect your physical and spiritual life. If you are those that work in the night, and when you come back in the morning, you continue other daily activities, what time do you have for your brain and your body? When you come back in the night or in the morning, give yourself enough sleep to avoid damaging your brain. This is one of the things that can damage our brain. Poor sleep. Number 2, consuming too much of negative thoughts or talk. If you know your brain cannot handle too much of negative stories, thoughts, or talks, avoid consuming it. There are difference between listening to a story and consuming a story. You can listen to something and choose not to consume it. When you are consuming a story, you are meditating, you are thinking into you about that story or about that talk. You are consuming it. And when you are consuming too much of negative thoughts, talks, or story, it can damage your brain. And when your brain is damaged, the physical and the spiritual part of your life is also at risk. Avoid listening to too much negativities, negative news, negative story. If you know your brain cannot access it and be okay, avoid it. There are so many people, when they see negative things happening around them, maybe accident or news, they begin to assess and begin to think so much about it, thereby getting too much worried and thinking too much. This type of people do not supposed to consume too much of negative stories, because their brain got stress or might have too much depression when they listen to it. So when you know your brain cannot access too much of negative thoughts or stories or news, you can choose to listen, but don't think about it. But if you listen to it and you can't handle it, avoid it when it comes around you, or when the news are flying everywhere. Avoid it. So what are we trying to say? Consuming too much of negative thoughts, stories, or thinking can damage your brain. Number 3, taking too much of sugar, alcohol, and the salt. This can damage your brain. Number 4, Using your phone so much. Some people can be on phone for 10 hours, 12 hours, morning till afternoon. Even if it's business you are doing, choose time to be out from your phone. Too much of phone can damage your brain. Have time for your brain to rest. Another thing that can damage your brain, and it will affect your physical and the spiritual life. Talking too much. When you talk too much, there are so many people that can talk from morning till night, no rest. When you talk too much, it can damage your brain. Because the brain is an engine. Sometimes engine needs break to rest in order to have energy to work again. So too much of talk can damage your brain. Another thing that can damage your brain, laziness. This is a sickness, and it can damage your physical and spiritual life. Because when you are lazy, physical, you are lazy also, spiritual. And laziness can damage your brain. Another one that can damage your brain, lack of exercise. When you don't have time to exercise your body, at least 10 minutes in a day, 20 minutes or 30 minutes. But in all, have time for exercise. Lack of exercise can bring damage to your brain. The last but not the least, there are so many of them. If anyone you know, you can write it down to suggest at the comment section. Believing in everything you see, hear, or think can damage your brain. There are so many people, any news, talks that comes around them, they believe in everything. They believe in gossip. They believe anything. Believing in anything that come across you can damage your brain. Use your instinct to meditate, to think about anything that you believe in order to assess the truth. There are so many things that can damage our brain. But these few points are things that you need to put in order. The last again, living in a dirty or polluted environment. When your environment is too dirty, spiritually and physically, when your environment is too polluted, it can affect your physical and spiritual life. Drop your own suggestion or anything you know so far that can damage brain. Write it down for others to see. Click like if you like this video. Subscribe while we move on to this beautiful topic that we have today. God bless you as we move on.